Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sanghapal, Kshirasagar, faculty at the Department of Biotechnology, Rajarshi, Shahu, Mahavidyalya, Latur. Today we are going to talk about the most important aspect in the research, that is discovery, invention and innovation. So here basically we are going to talk about the genesis of progress, how the progress occurs from discovery to invention to innovation. So here, firstly, we need to understand how this knowledge flows from discovery to invention to innovation. So we can say that these are like transition phases from gas to liquid to solid. So we can say that discovery, we can relate it to the nature of gas. We can say the state of discovery is intangible, highly malleable concept, and the key attribute of this discovery is novelty. When we talk about invention we can describe it as a liquid state where it is moderately tangible and a malleable prototype. The key attribute of invention is feasibility. So when we talk about the innovation, it is the solid state which is a tangible immutable product, and the key attribute is its utility. So many of the time we get confused about what is invention and what is innovation. So in simple term we can say that innovation is equal to invention into commercialization. So when you do the commercialization of an invention, it is nothing but innovation. So now let us move further where we will talk about this concept of discovery. So in the discovery, what we can say that the definition of discovery can be finding, exploring or identifying something that already exists in nature but was previously unrecognized. So this can be the definition of the discovery. What is the origin? That discovery is the result of observation, exploration, or we can say the scientific inquiry. So as we already talked in our previous slide that the key attribute of discovery is novelty. Can you quote some of the examples of discovery? Yes, most famous is the laws of thermodynamics. We know the laws of gravity. We know the structure of DNA. And when someone discovers a new plant species, this all comes under the concept of discovery. Okay, so what is the legal status? That when we talk about legal status, we are talking about its patentability. So we can say that it is radically open. It cannot be patented. Although discovery is very important, it cannot be patented because it is a part of nature, right? It already exists in nature, you just discovered it. So we cannot patent the discovery. Next, let us talk about the concept of invention. So invention, as we have discussed, that is the liquid state when we compare it with the states of matter. So discovery many of the time leads to the invention. So in invention, the key attribute of invention is its feasibility. So when we are saying feasibility, what do you mean by feasibility? Here we are talking about proof of concept or the prototype. So we can define the invention as the creation of new product, a process or method that has never existed before in the same form. Means we are inventing something which is not present in the nature. We can say that the origin of this invention is in the deliberate design, experimentation and technical development. So we can see some of the examples of invention such as electric bulb. So electric bulb was not present in nature, but it was invented. Then COVID-19 vaccine, AI based irrigation system of algorithm. So what is the legal status of this invention? So we can say that this invention can be patentable. This invention can be patentable. Next, let us talk about innovation. As we already discussed that this innovation is related to its utility. So key attribute of innovation is utility. What do you mean by utility? Utility is adding value to the existing user or attracting the new ones. So as you can see here that when we talk about the innovation, we talk about the solid state. How we can define the innovation? We can say the practical application and commercialization of an invention. What we are saying? Practical application or commercialization of invention to produce a novel product or service to the market. It means that it cannot be always a product. It can be service also, right? Its origin can be traced by a pursued need, market demands, strategic integration across the organization. So what we are saying is that the innovation happens due to the need of the market, due to the strategic integration across the organization. As we already discussed that key attribute is utility. We can say some of the examples of innovation. Say for example, iPhone. iPhone is an example of innovation. So it was innovated by someone by combining touch technology, by combining telecommunication and by combining software. Means we are combining touch technology, telecommunication and software into a user friendly product which has the higher utility. So what about its patentability or about its value creation? So we can say that it generally creates the economic value. We generally say that innovation comes from invention and inventions are already patented. So you cannot repatent the invention in the form of innovation, but you can generate the economic value, you can generate the money. This can shape the human behavior and fundamentally change how people will interact with the world. So these are about the three states: gaseous state, that is discovery; liquid state, which is an invention; and the solid state means innovation. So let us see the diagnostic matrix, or we can say just say we will see the comparison between discovery, invention and innovation. So when we talk about discovery, what we understand that its origin is related to exploration and observation. The human intervention is it recognize the natural phenomena. When we talk about patentability, it is never patented globally. And when we talk about some of the examples, as we already discussed, that it can be a DNA structure or the gravity. When we talk about the invention origin is experimentation and design. Human intervention requires creative problem solving, and patentability, that it is a patentable if novel and non-obvious. Examples we have already seen: AI based irrigation system, or we can say electric bulb, or we can say COVID-19 vaccine. These are all example of invention. So let us talk about the innovation. So when we say innovation, its origin lies in the commercialization and market fit. Its human intervention requires scaling and business strategy. Its patentability, we know that it is already protected by patents because innovation comes from the invention. There can be some trademarks or trade secrets which can be attributed to innovation. example we have already seen. We had seen Apple iPod or Apple iPhone. These are all examples of the innovations. See some of the prominent examples which are related to this thing. So we all know that there was an historical phase of transition from this wheel to these wheels, right? What is the importance of this wheel? We know that the wheel was invented in 3500 BC, and what was its purpose? It was a potter's wheel. It was potter's wheel. But with innovation, this wheel was combined with the axle for transports, for evolving into water wheels, rotating gears, and sparking the industrial revolution. So, this is how invention is converted into innovation by doing the commercialization. Similarly, we can see this example that the printing press was invented in 1436. What was its purpose of printing press? The printing press was there to process the printing material, or we can say to publish something by using mechanical movable type of press. But nowadays we know that we utilize this concept where we propagate knowledge much faster than ever before due to launching of global news networks, right? And this is how the printing press got commercialized with the concept of innovation. So this is again another prominent examples which is related to the evaluation of penicillin. So here we can see that in 1929 there was the discovery of penicillin. Who discovered penicillin? Alexander Fleming observes that a naturally occurring mold can kill the bacteria, and it was a novel concept, and that's why it was discovered in 1929. But it was invented for its production in 1940. So we can say that this Howard Florey and Ernest Chain invent a chemical process to isolate and purify active penicillin compound. What do you mean? That although discovery was in 1929, there was no process at that time for its isolation and purification. But in 1940, the scientists developed the concept and the process to isolate and purify the active penicillin compound. So this became the invention. But this was not commercialized then. It was scientific experiment and it leads to the invention. But due to the large scale use of penicillin, this invention is converted into innovation in 1943 by development of deep tank fermentation to allow for mass production of global distribution of drug. So this is related to its utility. There was high demand of penicillin in the market, and this demand was fulfilled by the deep tank fermentation technology, which can produce large scale penicillin within short duration of time, and it can reach to the number of peoples. So there was many of the time debate related to the patentability. What can be patented, what cannot be patented, and for that we'll see that what is the legal charge, what gets patented. So firstly we'll see what gets patented. So first, novel process, as we have seen the example of penicillin. So no, if the process is novel, it can be patented. If there are some formulated drugs, they can be patented. If there are mechanical devices that are prepared by applying known principles, that can be patented. Specific softwares of architectures solving technical problem, that can be patented. So these are all examples of the inventions which can be patented. So here is another category where we'll talk about what cannot be patented. So basically we know that this is more or less related to discovery, because we have seen this discoveries cannot be patented because they already exist in nature. Okay, so like laws of nature, like we know that principle of gravity or laws of gravity, laws of thermodynamics, they are the laws of nature, and that's why it cannot be patented. We cannot patent natural substances. Means if someone discovers the new plant species, it cannot be patented. If someone discovers new minerals, it cannot be patented. Okay, so some of the scientific principles, as already said, that principle of gravity cannot be patented. Generally the abstract idea without proving anything cannot be patented. So these are all examples of the discoveries which cannot be patented. So many of the time the researchers think that invention is better than discovery because invention can be patented. Further, if invention is commercialized, we can generate the monetary value. But remember that these are interconnected drivers. These are interconnected drivers of human advancement when we talk about discovery, invention, and innovation. Because discovery leads to invention, invention lead to innovation, and the innovation can help to discover new things. So basically this we can say they are connected things. We discover the world as it is, we invent the tools to change it, and we innovate to shape the future. So all the three things, discovery, invention, and innovation, are important. So that's for today. Thank you everyone.